items, as always, the little green lights in front of you, those are recording, so they should pick up everyone's voice fairly well. And we kind of tweaked this up a little bit this time so that you can pick up the voices better for the recording and for people that are listening online. And I'm using this handheld just because it helps a little bit as well. So
I think we should all talk at once. Because then they can
Anne-Marie's behalf.
That's what Anne-Marie likes, right? Is when we all talk at the same time.
I probably should have asked that before.
It's great.
It's great because then it's very confusing.
Put all your snacks on.
So hopefully everyone can hear well, and with that, we'll just kick this off. The first thing we want to put on here is, so the new state requirements and legislation on property tax require cities in their first meeting of May to notice if there's an intent to do truth in taxation, do a property tax increase. Obviously, the council has not voted on anything yet or even seen the full budget, but as staff, the proposed budget that we're going to be recommending does include a property tax increase. And then the numbers that we're looking at, as you can see up there on the notice, it would be a 31.24% revenue increase. That is the exact to the dollar amount increase that was approved last year and then not in the end approved by the state because of what we're all too familiar with. We missed a couple of things on new legislation. Specifically, we held other business on the night of the hearing. So we're being very careful this year to make sure that if we do the truth in taxation, if the council does approve that, the hearing on August 6th would include nothing that night but the truth in taxation hearing, no other city business at all. But anyway, again, this is part of state requirement to put this notice out. Again, that 31.24% is a revenue dollar amount increase. The exact dollar amount that we would have increased last year had that gone through with the state. That's that slide. I guess move on to the next slide. Okay, this is also part of that statement that's required by the state. I just point your attention to the bottom right number there. Again, that $1,795,000. That's that 31 point whatever it was. 31.24% would equal 1.79 million in total revenue increase, and again, that's the same number as last year. So, for some of the reasons, some of the other information up there is just we'll get into some of this later, but it's the same stuff that we increased the budget for last year. It was for the field house, for the new staffing positions, the sergeant that was funded last year, the assistant attorney, and then just general inflationary increases. That's all what's driving that increase. So.
Jason, you're going to send these slides to us if you haven't already, right?
Yes, everyone's got the paper slides in front of them right now.
Could I have digital too?
And digital went out last night.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Okay. Sorry, I was mad, so.
Oh, yeah.
You must be in law school.
So next slide. So now this will officially get into the work session. We always start with our mission statement, and Lorraine has.
Yeah, it's my turn.
Do you want the?
Oh yeah, I probably should have.
Oh, and by the way, John's horse had a baby this morning, so he's waiting for it to nurse, and then he'll be here. If you didn't already know.
John's horse had a baby.
If y'all want
That's pretty cool.
It is.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
a month overdue. Wow.
Hi, welcome to budget number 2. I just wanted to share a quick thought. There's a saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. This idea shows up everywhere, especially when it comes to finances and budgeting. Most of us can think of something we wish we would have started earlier. Saving more, investing sooner, tracking spending, paying something off, but this isn't about regret. It's about perspective. Because we can't go back 20 years, but we do have today. That's really what makes this budget meeting, that's really what this budget meeting is about. Not perfection, not fixing everything overnight, just making the next right decision with what we have now. Our mission statement is enhance the present and future quality of community life in Kaysville through the delivery of effective, efficient, and equitable services. Every dollar we plan today, every adjustment we make, every small step, it's planting something. And those small choices are what turn into stability, flexibility, and options later. We have prepared a budget that isn't filled with fluff. It's filled with necessary projects, goals, and plans to enhance citizens' lives, while also creating a strategic plan to also enhance and create something better for the future. Every decision we make in this budget, how we allocate resources, where we invest, what we prioritize, is part of delivering on that promise. It's how we balance the needs of today while still building something sustainable for tomorrow. Every budget reflects priorities, but it also reflects responsibilities. The decision we make today doesn't just affect this year's residents, they define the Kaysville we hand to the next generation. So wherever we're starting from, whether we feel behind, on track, or somewhere in between, the opportunity is the same. We plant the tree today.
Very nice.
That was very inspiring-ish. Good job.
Oh, so I gave you little seeds to give you a reminder to plant today, plant in the hands.
Thanks, Marin. That's really cool. A great perspective. I love starting off these kinds of things with that kind of grounding of the big picture, and the things that we're enjoying right now in Kaysville definitely are things that are because of people many, many years ago that started that foundation and invested into the community. And I love the mission statement here. I know we talk about it every time, but it's just so important to think about what we're doing and the quality of life that we're charged with in preserving for both the current and the future residents. And I always think about, sometimes I hear people say, well, we should run the city more like a business. And while it's certainly true that we have to be very mindful of the sacred public dollars, that we're being as effective and efficient as we can be with those dollars, we also have to look at obviously other things that a business wouldn't look at. And it's beyond just the bottom line, it's also ensuring that we're providing for public safety, that we're ensuring a quality of life. If we were a business, the first thing we do is say, man, these parks are costing us a ton of money. Why are we, it's not profitable at all. Let's sell these and turn them into developments. And I think public safety and other services would look much different if we were solely focused on the bottom line. But in addition to that, we need to obviously think about protecting those services and the quality of life that residents expect. And so that's not cheap, of course, and that's why it gets kind of hard sometimes. But with that, we'll move into the schedule. So right now, this is the only other work session that we are planning. Depending on how today goes or other questions, we could schedule an additional work session, but our intent was today would be the second and final work session, and then next Thursday, next week, we will have the tentative budget proposed to the council, and council would vote on that. This is all driven by state requirements, deadlines, that we have to adopt the tentative budget this month. And so the next step after that would be to, assuming there aren't any additional additional work sessions, we would have the public hearing on June 4th, and then vote on whether to proceed with the truth and taxation at the second meeting of June on June 18th. And then if that happens, the truth and taxation would happen on August 6th. So that's the overall schedule. Any questions so far? Okay, next slide. We've talked about budget objectives all the time, but these are the three key things. I think pretty familiar with those. All three things are important: operations, employees, and capital make the city work and need to be sustainable and invested in. So today's schedule, we are going to talk about primarily enterprise funds today: power, water, sewer, things like that. We will kind of circle back to general fund. We obviously last work sessions solely focused on general fund. We wanted to swing back to that and kind of hit on some follow-up things to make sure that we're still on track with what the council was hoping. But again, primarily today is about enterprise. So with that, Ops Center, or sorry, no, Bluff. Councilmember Oates always like to have a bluff statement, meaning bottom line up front. So what is the damage? And we'll get into the why behind all this in the coming couple hours here, but right up front, this is what the whole thing looks like. So again, property taxes, general fund stuff, that stuff we're not spending a lot of time on today, but the proposed 31.24% revenue increase in property tax would result in about a $14.80 a month increase to the average resident. Average resident meaning the owner of a house valued at $690,000, which is the average home value in Kaysville. They would see a $14.80 increase. And again, I know we say it over and over, but this is simply the number that would have been approved last year had it gone through with the state, the number that you all voted for, and then it didn't happen. We're not proposing to spend a cent more in property tax increase this year than what was proposed and approved last year.
Okay, I do have a question. So last year, although the budget didn't change, I thought we still increased water, electric, sanitation, sewer.
Correct, Mayor, we
I thought all
did.
of those rates did get
They
adjusted
did.
last year. Okay.
Correct, good point.
So really, these aren't included in these numbers this year?
Okay,
They
so
already
I'm only,
adjusted.
right now, okay, great question. Right now, I'm solely talking about property tax.
Okay, so the only line we're looking at is number one.
Right now, I'm only talking about, the number one line, property tax, and so, yeah, the 1480, that's so simply capturing what would have gone through last year and nothing else. That's the 1480, the property tax. The rest of the numbers are all enterprise funds, and that's what we're here to talk about today. So we are proposing increasing some of the fees to power, electric, water.
Even though we already did it last year.
We did it last year, yes, but and we'll get into why we're proposing to continue to increase those this year and probably in the future years. Just that's today's discussion.
Okay, so as I have asked in the past, when you give this scale of the 690,000 and tell you what it is, I've asked several times, could you please put more on there, like a 800,000 to 9? Because there is not one house around me that is valued at that. And I like to be able to tell the people around me what their tax increase is going to be like. I don't know of one house west of I-15 that values at 600 and
Right.
Good 690. Where is it? Put 600 some thousand. I don't know of one that's down there, so I can't legitimately tell people who have houses that are 800,000, 900,000, million, that their valuation, what their taxes are going to be, and what their increase is going to be, so they actually know what it's going to be. And I want to know what it's going to be if they come up with it.
Right.
Yeah, we can do that. Sorry, Mike. The 690 came directly from the state as Kaysville's average.
I just don't see it around. I mean, there's not one house west of
Right.
I-15 that is averaged at 690,000. To me, it's not a real number, so that's why I'd like
Okay.
to see.
No,
Okay,
we
thank
can
you.
create that for sure.
Thank you.
And
Do you want to do one a little bit lower too for
Yes.
the house?
yeah, I thought
I don't think there's a house in Kaysville that's valued
Right.
at 690,000.
There's plenty.
the average is 690.
There's a lot.
Directly from the
Um,
state.
That's
But
fine.
it's a great point, Mike. If you're on the east side, that might seem like a high number to some people. If you're on the west side, that seems obviously very low. I believe we did last year when we were putting up public information. We were breaking it down on, okay, if it's this, 800 is this, if it's 700, and then there's a simple formula that you can also apply. But yeah, for today's purpose, we were just trying to, but yeah, well noted. So again, today's primarily about enterprise funds, and we are proposing increasing some of those fees to be able to continue to invest and sustain those funds so they stay in the black. And so you can see the dollar increases to each of those. Water, $1.63, electric, 31 cents. This is, again, per month increases. The sanitation, the Robinson waste and the sewer, those are pass-through costs primarily from Central Davis and from Robinson. Anyway, the total impact of all things based to the average resident, again, a resident who owns the average house value of 690 and consumes the average amount of power, water, etc., would be $25.01 a month. So we wanted to just kind of put that as a bottom line up front. What does this impact look like to the average person? So with that, we'll kind of jump into some of the whys behind this. Right off the bat, we wanted to touch back on something we've talked about in prior years, the operations center. Last year was discussed, ultimately not put on the budget due to so many things. We had the gymnasium and other things. I think everyone's heard this before, but the operations center was built in the early 90s, so it's obviously it's outgrown. It needs to be reinvested in. Primarily, I think it's a lot to do with square footage. I mean, we've grown as a city since the early 90s, and as people that have been down there know, there's not space for people to work. We've got the old Davis School District outbuilding that's, I don't even know how old that thing is now, but it's very old. We're just looking for the space as we've grown as a city to expand. As everyone probably remembers, in years past when we've looked at the operations center, we looked at a much bigger comprehensive project, and that even as a year or two ago, it was about $39 million to do that version. We found a way to scale that back, obviously substantially, to about a $6.4 million project, which would bump out the front of the building and add that square footage that we need. It also includes, covered storage for the yard, which is important. We've got all this expensive equipment just sitting out in the elements. We have a state requirement to upgrade our fuel island by, technically the deadline is July 1 of this year, but they told us they would extend that to January 1st of next year. We learned that last year, so we didn't have a lot of time to react to it. But that $500,000, that's required. We have no choice but to comply with the state. They put us on notice. We've got to upgrade our fuel to bring it to current state standards.
I have a question on that, Jason.
Yes.
So when I was down at the league, I was talking to a couple cities about fuel stations, and several of the cities said that what they're able to do is use a fuel station, that they have one in the city, and they weren't tiny cities like, in southern Utah. And then they were able to open it up for state vehicles, and opening it up for state vehicles allowed them to drop the rate for fuel down because the state is on a different contract than the cities are. And then they were able to supplement some of the costs because the fuel was lower. I don't know if this is accurate, but this is what I was told, because I said, yeah, we've got to move our fuel station. It's going to be expensive. And they said, well, if you have one and you allow state vehicles to use it, and if it's on a route where they can stop by Highway Patrol or I don't know who the state agencies are that use it, but it does reduce costs. Have we looked at that, and is that even viable? I don't know. I haven't asked anybody.
Ogden doesn't know.
Okay, and is
They
it?
fill up throughout the state, it's kind of convenient.
Okay, so I'm just wondering if that's an option for Kaysville to consider, because especially where the fire station, don't we have a fuel station there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and it's on the main street. I realize it puts more traffic onto Main Street, but just as, by way of trying to figure out how can we benefit by some of these state contracts and the rates?
Great. I love it. Yeah. I don't know that we've had any conversations with the state about that, but
No, certainly we could. It would just be the fuel purchase price that would be where we'd get the help.
But I mean, it is,
Interesting to look at.
Yeah,
but it
for
is
sure.
some help, and I'm just,
Sure, yeah.
right.
if we can help ourselves at all, I think, and it's viable, let's consider it.
Yeah, we can inquire.
And maybe you guys already have, and you're just
No,
looking
we
at me like.
haven't.
you're
No, we
stupid.
haven't.
Okay, that's what I've been told,
Plus, if
so.
we're taking classes, St. George, a lot of us go down there for whatever conferences or whatever, we can hit points down there and get cheaper fuel.
Yeah, and if they can benefit and we can benefit and it helps all of us, let's do it, if it's possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's great, Mayor. I love when we see governments working together. You know, we always talk about the field house, what a great, opportunity that was to have, leverage funds from two different entities. And if we can do something similar with state, kind of, help them, and they help us in terms of maybe paying a little when they fuel up
Even
here.
Davis Tech, I think, counts as being a state school. I don't know for sure,
Right.
but just state,
Right.
okay. All right, thank
I thought I'd heard that state vehicles could fuel up at Davis Tech, but I might be mistaken on that.
you. Okay, thanks.
So if that's the case, they've already got one, in the area,
Because they've got theirs, okay.
but we'll definitely look into this.
Okay.
So,
I
okay.
think they fill up at RVs over here. They used to. All highway patrol will fill up at RVs and stuff. Buses.
Buses are always there.
So just looking at the cost of this operations center, if we were to build at 6.4 million to bond for that, we would spread that cost out over 20 years and charge the different departments and funds that use the operations center. So Marin and Cole and the department heads have kind of gone through and tried to figure out how much each department head or department uses of the total area of the operations center, and kind of spread those costs out accordingly. So what you're seeing there in the box on the left is just the annual bond payments. The total bond payment for that bond over 20 years would be $463,000, but spread out again into those different departments. And I would just stress that this is almost all enterprise fund, not general fund. So we're not looking at truth and taxation really here. We're looking at funding this with the enterprise funds and rate increases to support that, which is the appropriate place to cost that to. Next slide. This is the Waterworth model. Some of you remember from last year, we now contract with a company called Waterworth that works with a lot of cities in Utah and across the country. But what this does is helps us project out future costs for our infrastructure. In this case, our electric costs. So it's called Waterworth because they initially started just doing water infrastructure, but they do electric and roads and other things. So the electric model here is you look at that, so the blues and the green are our costs. The light blue is cost of staff and operating costs. The dark blue is the projected cost of our power purchases. As everyone knows, we buy our power. And then the green is our capital costs for future maintenance and infrastructure improvements. And so what obviously you want to do is make sure that the orange bars, I guess those are orange, partly purple, but those bars are our projected revenue. And of course we want to make sure that our revenue is covering the cost of providing the service. The enterprise funds are viewed very differently than the general fund. Enterprise are designed to operate much like a business where you make sure that your costs are covered by your revenues. And so what this model does is it helps us project out what our revenue needs are going to be and our future costs to make sure that we have a sustainable long-term plan. And so the black line that you can see running through, that is our cash position. And so kind of our fund balance, if you will. We want to make sure that stays positive, of course. So there's two graphs there. The bottom one just shows if we did nothing, and you can see that over the next several years, we'd see our cash position go to zero and beyond. And so what we're proposing here is a 5% increase to our rates, our power rates, to ensure that we can cover those future costs and continue to be sustainable. I think maybe we'll just jump to the next slide because it breaks down more of what this is about. So you can see that a 5% increase to power rates would generate about $1,049,000. But we would still be required to use about $738,000 of fund balance in addition to that new revenue. So this is really in a way just a survival mode. We're not trying to pad, the fund balance. Again, we're using $730,000 $38,000 of fund balance as part of this. This is just a way to sustainably keep that revenue where it needs to be to ensure that we can continue to invest in our infrastructure. And so what's driving the cost increases here? I don't know, Brian, do you want to kind of go down that list and explain some of those projects?
Yeah. So the first one, the direct bury outdated wire. We've got several places throughout the city where the wire is direct buried, meaning it's not in conduit. The wire is rated for 50 years. It's been in the ground for over 60. And we're just starting to experience a lot of burnups, a lot of issues. So we're just starting that process. We're just about to wrap up the second section of the city that's 2400 system. So the whole city will then be a more efficient 7200 volt system. We should be wrapping that up here in the next month or two to finish that. We have a boring contractor that we're using right now for all of it, but the 400K there is just going to be the beginning stages of taking all of the direct bury wire that we have in our city. We're starting with all the trouble areas first. Just north of the botanical garden, we had 5 or 6 burn-ups in the same neighborhood last year. So we're hoping to hit that neighborhood first so that this year maybe they can catch a break and not have several more. The reconductoring old overhead wire, that's part of just the capital plan that we have. That was part of the survey that was done back in 2019. Just upsizing some of our main feeder lines between substations. Now that we have the ability to have more capacity in the Schick sub and the Burton substation, we now definitely need to entertain those main connector feeders between substations and upsize that conductor. A battery control house at the west substation. That one's not necessarily super pressing or an emergency. The substation's operating just fine, but it does not have a control house. It's the only one that we have. The only substation that we have that does not have a control house or a battery system to make it so that we can operate and use the controls within the substation if we lose substation power. The op center, we kind of already talked about that earlier in this budget meeting. And then the increase in power purchasing from UAMPS, that's just a 100K buffer that we kind of implemented, not knowing what the future is going to bring with EDAM and the rate stabilization and equalization that we have to do every single day now with the new process of power resource distributions with KYSO and EDAM. So that right there, just to give you a heads up, it's just a guess. I talked to probably 15 different cities over the course of the last, couple months. There was one city that made the comment to me, I have no clue what to do, so I just put $1 million in there. Better be over than under. And I don't feel that was the answer. But after talking to several different directors in several different power departments and running a bunch of numbers and looking into how EDAM has worked for other organizations that have now been in EDAM for several years, I felt like that 100K was a very reasonable and good figure to put in there. So,
Brian, I have a question for you.
yeah.
If now's an okay time. Of those projects, which projects are currently in process and which projects are planned?
Yeah, so the direct bury outdated wire for the boring, that's in process.
Okay.
We've already allocated money last year to start this. We've already started or almost completed 2 sections of the town. We're about to start the 3rd section here in about 2 weeks. And we've already awarded a contractor to do that. The reconductor, old overhead wire, we're always doing that. We're constantly doing that. Just when we're doing rebuilds where we can, we'll reconductor. That's what we've done up till now, is mainly just the regular rebuild maintenance type stuff that we put in part of the 630 code is part of our every year budget. This is kind of new, a little bit more additional. The battery control house in the west substation is completely new. That would be an item that is completely brand new. The concrete fence around Burton Lane substation, I didn't touch on that one. That would be completely new as well, but as you guys are aware, the vinyl fence down there, the last time that Cole's crew had that completely repaired, the very next day there were several sections that were knocked out of it. If you go down there right now, you can see it's just a complete mess, and it happens within a week or two after putting thousands, $7,000, $8,000 into rebuilding it.
And it's not wind related.
Yes, and it's not wind related. This is all kids and destruction. So we just filled it a really nice concrete fence down there that would last, years and years would be appropriate. We do understand that we would be trading probably, ripped down fence with graffiti that would have to be addressed and cleaned or repainted, but the cost difference would, in the long run, we feel like would be advantageous. So.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
Sim? I don't know when the council gets asked questions, but okay, so a 5% tax increase now would mean we have done a 20% tax increase in power in the last year and a half. We did originally, we were supposed to do a 5 and a 5, but we did a 5 and a 10, and now a 5. And I'm trying to figure out with the 15% tax increase, or power increases we've got to get the 22, how have we spent $2 million and more additional dollars in this year? That's what I'm having a hard time with, because we already have money budgeted for maintenance, we already have money for projects, but somehow we've managed to increase it almost $2 million when we've already done 15% increase. That's my questions. Are we doing more than we need to do? Because
And I guess to piggyback on that,
people up.
how many of these projects could be postponed? I realize that fence at Burton looks like garbage. I live right there. It does look like garbage. If we can't electrify it, I'm just kidding. We wouldn't really do that. That was bad. Just kidding. But I mean, it's going to just keep happening. So how much could be delayed of those projects till it gets, because you said they're new, the 250 reconductor is new, battery control is new, concrete fence would be new. Op Center, we didn't let you get through those two. Or maybe you did
I guess
already.
my question more so is what happened to the 15% increase? Where did it all go? And why is it necessary to do another 5? And how come the budget's increased another $2 million? That's my question.
So part of that budget gap includes fund balance, and for fiscal year 26, we budgeted 1.3 million of fund balance use. So
Electric only?
for electric. So we're trying to budget half of the fund balance for fiscal 27 that we used for fiscal 26. So that's part of
Okay.
needing another increase.
But shouldn't we be getting caught up before we start doing a whole bunch of additional things instead of using fund balance? And I know you say, EDAM, you put 100,000 in to increase the power and UAMs, but don't we already have $2 million in there that we keep in reserve to help for these types of things that we already had?
In our enterprise fund there.
I can't speak for power, but I would think that we're in a similar situation with things like water and stormwater. This isn't a commentary on Larry or Gary, who were here previous to me and Brian, but I've asked myself the same question, like, hey, I look at old budgets and I look at what they are now with what we do, and there's an increase in spending. What is that? Like, obviously costs are more than they used to be. That's part of it. But I know for water specifically, we've taken on a ton of projects that were like, hey, these would be awesome projects to do someday, but there's just no way to make it happen. Tank automation, system upgrades, state requirements that just, hey, we're supposed to have our tank set up this way, but we can't afford it. So we're just gonna do it. We're gonna continue doing what we've been doing.
Okay.
We've come in and we have taken on a ton of this work. And again, it's not a commentary on Gary or Larry, but we've got the state that's breathing down our neck with compliance things. We've got things that like, hey, instead of in the middle of the winter, we need to climb down in a 15-foot vault to turn the water tanks on and off. We're gonna automate these things. And these are millions of dollars that, it'd be nice, but we're not gonna pursue them right now. We're not gonna pursue them right now. And now we're at the point where things aren't working anymore. State requirements are changing, and just like efficiencies. Why would we continue doing this? This doesn't make sense. That's what I point to in terms of my department.
And I understand that, and that's your job to come and tell us all these things that you want and think that make your operations better. But on the other hand, I'm representing the 33,000 people who live in this city who have to pay these bills, who actually already got a 15% increase in their water last year.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm sitting here
For sure.
today.
And I think we're on the same page. I don't think we're diametrically opposed. Like, as a staff member and a resident, even if I was just a staff member, we're here to serve the residents of Kaysville. And part of that is we want you to have power. We want you to have all these other services, and we want them to be as efficient and equitable as possible. That mission statement drives what we do every day.
Sure.
So as we're looking at these things, Brian, substations, transformers previously at like 130% of capacity, we'll just push it off. Brian comes in like, I'm not comfortable doing that anymore. And there's gonna be costs that come with that. Unfortunately.
We replaced $2 million transformers in the last couple of years.
Yeah. As we took on specifically last year rate increases, we didn't do the full rate increase of, hey, what would it take to get to where we need to be? We didn't do that last year. Like, what are we comfortable with placing the financial burden on residents? Let's start somewhere.
And I guess where I'm coming from as a council member, you need to tell me where that 15% went. I need to know how much it generated and where did it go. Where did your 15% go? Where did it generate? Where did it go? Why are we now fighting? That's what I need to know, so that I have to go back and tell the people, I need to increase your power. Because personally, myself, I do equal pay at Kaysville City. My equal pay last year went up $450. I would imagine there's only 2 people in my house. That's probably pretty minimal to a lot of people's equal pay went up last year. That's who I'm sitting here today representing. And all I'm seeing so far is this, increase. I just don't want to be known as the council that broke Kaysville City.
Yeah, I think our council and even staff to some degree is in a difficult position where I think a lot of these decisions have previously been like, yeah, we're not going to do it this year. And now that's falling on the current council to deal with.
It's always been that way, Josh. It's always been.
Exactly.
It's
always been that way.
Projects.
And now it's trying to crawl out of the hole and trying to fix that is how I view that.
We have a difference of opinion on it's crawling out of the hole. Okay? I believe we try to provide much more than we used to try to provide. I think that we ran lean, and so we did things that were lean. I think there are things that don't have to be done, that can be put off. I mean, we don't need to have the best of everything. We just need to provide a service that's adequate to the people that they're comfortable paying for. That's what I'm...
Well, and to add to that, Josh and Brian, it would be really nice to be able to say, okay, we raised your power rates 15% this last year. This is what it did for the city. These are the projects that it funded, so that we can have a visual to say, okay, yeah, we did raise your rates, and this is where the money went towards. And I realize it's kind of maybe hard to break it down per penny, but just, okay, we did this many feet of new line. in an area that has complained in King Clarion because their power goes out. This is what it did for Public Works. It provided safety, it provided, we need to be able to better tell the story instead of just saying, you know what, we raised it 15%, it wasn't enough, so now we're going to try to raise another 15. Because people are saying, well, I see no difference in my household because I don't know what you do. So if we could get better at telling that story, I think it would help. It would really help answer these questions when we're going to be asked, because we are. Last year we did raises. We didn't end up with our tax raise. And not one person came to me and said, gee, thanks so much for raising our rates because now my water flows better or I have greater capacity.
I think it's one of the city's greatest, like,
You know what I mean?
difficulties or failures is
It was just you
how
guys
well
suck.
we tell the story and share the information and educate.
Yes, and we've talked about how we can maybe do that better, but I really think that will go really far in terms of telling the story. Because we might understand these conversations, and literally, there's a lot of it I still don't understand. When you talk about a concrete fence, yes, I can visualize a concrete fence and I see all the holes. When you talk about a reconductor of an old waterhead wire, what does that do for me? I don't even know where it's at. So, and I know it's more work on staff, but if we are trying to tell the story and make our case, we have to be more visual about it. Josh bringing in pipes was very influential. This is what it looks like under the ground, and then people thought, oh, well shoot, that's a problem. So, to Mike's point, yes, we need to be better at doing that.
Well,
and in order for us to get around you and support you, you got to provide it for
And
us.
my point too is, we have already budgeted in 26, 25. There are line items that already have a lot of money in them that we have to be able to use. I mean, it gets to the point where you get so much money in something, you just don't even have enough people to spend it all to do that many projects. So then you say, well, we need to do more projects, we need more people.
But we haven't
It
finished
just
what we
keeps
did.
climbing, and that's where I'm saying, no, let's get caught up. Because I think, and I don't want to go way off because you want to do this presentation, because I'm actually going to ask for another budget session with just the council and you and Maren, and Parker, so that we can actually talk as a council and hash over after you do. Because so far, pretty much we've come to your presentations. We really haven't had, this is probably the most I've talked in the last 2 sessions. But it's got to be something that we've got to sit down as a council and talk and hash this all out. And I think it's going to mean that we're going to have to schedule another work session to just hash it out. Okay, so I don't want to keep going on and on, but yeah, just go ahead. Let's just move on. But
So, just building off of the comments that were just barely made, everybody should have received an annual report from Stacy, all council members and staff. A lot of the questions that you just barely, and statements you just barely made, if you will refer to that annual report that each of you received, you will see a lot of the things in there that we did do with the money from last year in our achievements. The reconductoring job of Burton Lane on a main feeder line. I didn't put prices on that, but if you want prices, I can. But that right there was probably, $40,000 just in that 250 feet of reconductoring. That stretch. When we pulled that wire out, it had melted. The 3 phases had melted together. And if that had gone another year, it would have burned up for sure, 100%. And people would have been out of power for probably 18 hours plus for us to be able to get that repair made. So,
Hey, Brian, just a quick question. Is a lot of this because of adding more to our infrastructure, or is this just maintenance type stuff?
it's both, yeah. The west side, you look at how much it's built, it's done, and when our main feeder lines were initially put in, we've tripled, quadrupled capacity on those lines, and so a lot of those lines have to be upsized
You
now.
can tell us all these projects you do, and they're not going to mean a lot to us because we don't understand what you do out there that much. But what I'm most interested in is when you did this project, it was obviously funded in the budget, so you use that, so the next year that, you're budgeted the same amount in that thing, and so you have other projects. What I guess I'm more interested in the council is, we did this in addition to, so it cost us this much more, and it came out of this line item of this account, and we were under in this account. That's what, you know, that's what makes more sense to me. You can tell me all the things you went out and all the transfer you changed and how you replaced wire and all that, but the bottom line is, when you did that project, replacing that wire, was it from a line item on a budget? Did you spend your budget? That will be again there again next year, and you'll have another project that will take its place. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah. Well, we do have a lot of additional things that have been neglected, like Josh said. A lot of things that have been neglected for years and years and years that now are being in addition to. Also, just one more thing I wanted to just kind of point out, and you can leave it for what it is. But if you remember last year when we discussed the increase, I don't feel that staff was trying to hide this year's increase because we projected out the next 5 years or something like that. And this increase was included in last year's projection. When you agreed upon last year's increase, it was very apparent, it was on the screen, what the proposal to maintain increased costs for operations and for everything else.
That may mean a lot to you and how you see that, but all I see is you put this computer thing up here that says if you don't increase your fees this much every year, your money's gonna go like this. So to me, that's just not an automatic increase, okay? That might mean it to you, but it doesn't mean it to me.
It's, yeah, I think I hear what you're saying. If you look at that, I know it's hard we could sit here for literally the whole day and try to educate on every project and why it's needed and things like that. But that's the intent of this model, is to kind of show, it's no surprise, unfortunately, it's a sad reality, but everything is going up when we look at the cost of power purchases, the cost of just operations. Inflation has been a real killer, especially the last several years. Those capital projects, I mean, the green, you're not seeing any major spikes there. You're seeing it relatively, I think to your point, Mike, it's not like, there is an increase there. I think it's primarily driven by, in just eyeballing it, you can see the dark blue. That's where you're kind of seeing, I think, most of that growth, the cost of future power purchases. But what we're trying to do, as well as, like Marin kind of said at the beginning, just plant that tree now, because we don't want to come back to the council and, you know, a couple of years and say, oh man, now we need like a 30% increase because we didn't do it, you know, last year or the last year before that. Trying to just stay on top of that curve and knowing that things are going up. But I know what you're saying is, like, help me understand where that money's going.
I understand, because, you know, I know Tammy's always said we should do truth and taxation every year or whatever to look at for inflation. But I've been here 6 years and we've done 3 tax increases. That's pretty close to every year.
I have sorry guys, I did not anticipate my mayor having a baby this morning, and we had to pull it out and help it nurse and everything like that, so apologize for being late, but we have a baby. This is when you applause, yeah. So I'm not caught up, so maybe tell me if my comment here is out of place. One of the thoughts that I've been having, and I think I expressed this to Jason and Marin the other day, was if the fire station passes on ballot, I think that gives us one of the best opportunities to do the largest increase that would occur, because it would, it's like it would really be ripping the Band-Aid off. Like we were discussing that you would do just the 30% for the building, and then the next year, like 30% for the employees. And I was like, no, you do the whole thing. You let people see, because then you have a reason to say like, oh yeah, your taxes went up, but because of fire station. Otherwise, the next year, you're like, oh, it's the fire station again, or whatever.
John, I could never do that, and the reason I could never vote to do that is because people don't get their wages increased 30 and 40% at once. They may get it done 15 one year, 15 another year, whatever, 5, or if they're a state employee, they get 3.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody
And
gets
so-
a 70%
And
raise.
so I would never look at hitting them with what you're talking about all in 1 year. I just couldn't do that.
But the ratios are different. It's not like, we were talking about this the other day, Mike.
Yeah.
It's not like if you got a 3% increase in your $70,000 a year salary, $70,000 a year salary, that's $210 more a month that you're getting. Is that, I mean, 200, or
And I
2,000?
know what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
3% doesn't
Like-
mean what it says, but the 3% that I'm talking about is the part that pays for their gas, their food, their kids going to school, their clothing, their shoes. all that.
Councilmember Blackman, and as, I appreciate the conversation, I really.
Okay,
think that
so
this has
anyway,
gotta be a
the whole
sidebar
reason I was bringing this up,
conversation.
is that I'm trying to figure out, like, you're talking about this year's 30, and then it would be 30 and then another 70 with the fire station if it got, I'm trying to figure that out, or if the 30 that you were talking about included this.
We will have a work item on next Thursday's budget as well on the fire station, just might be a good time to revisit that discussion.
I guess my point
I know we
is-
got a lot of enterprise funds to work through this morning,
I guess my point is, why would it be conducive to, if we had to delay doing a tax raise this year and maybe use different funds and then do the raise at the time of the station, like do it all at the same time? And would that make any sense?
that's a huge conversation that I just don't know that.
Okay.
I mean, we could have that
Okay.
conversation for the next 3 hours.
But what
What
are you talking about right now?
we're talking about enterprise funds.
All right.
Yeah, what you're talking about is general fund stuff
All right,
that I
catch
just,
me up.
we weren't planning on talking about general fund this morning so much, but we could certainly schedule another meeting to get into that.
Gotcha. Okay. So Mike's saying, you're saying you don't want to pass the enterprise fund.
No.
Oh, I can catch up. Oh, that'd be super nice, actually.
But
So-
Corinne says we're gonna talk about general fund later, after
The review.
enterprise fund.
Right,
Okay,
we
so-
will circle back to sort of recap on general fund at the end of this, so we can kind of get into a little bit of that, and
Is that
then
forward or back?
again, we'll plan on scheduling this other work session, it sounds like, to kind of
Don't
dive
agree,
in.
don't agree.
But
agree.
right now, we're just talking about electric rates, so,
Thank you.
so that, I guess, any more, and Brian's got a meeting to jump out for in a little bit, not.
I'm okay for about 25 more minutes.
So this is the next slide that we talk about the tiers and what we do with the rates.
So our goal here, thanks, Marin, our goal here is to minimize the impact to residents. As you can see, the bottom right corner there,
Is this a time of usage or just a usage in general?
just usage, we're not doing time of use.
We're not, doesn't that benefit the city to do time of use also? Like if I plug in my car and it's the middle of the night, that's a better time of use for energy efficiency than during the day, right?
I think we are long-term working towards time of use. We've actually had probably dozens of hours of work on working towards that.
Okay.
Working with the software ends of things and things like that. But we're not quite ready to do that yet. A lot of cities are kind of working like we are towards that eventually. And I think you're right, Mayor, that is something we want to do because it'll help curb use during the peak hours of the day. But today we're just proposing to do an increase of 25 cents to the base charge for residents. And then really the goal here again is to minimize the impact. So Most of the effect is going to be felt on the commercial side, which will be the next slide, but actually, maybe we should jump to the next slide. So,
Thank you so much. Beautiful presentation. Gorgeous.
sorry, I didn't see that.
That is mine. Thank you. You ought to grow that.
Trying to find that slide that had the impact to the average resident.
Oh, that was on that's the previous one.
Oh, thanks.
These are gonna die.
It's fine.
I'm gonna
Oh,
try.
sorry about that. So, I guess one thing we wanted to point out on this slide was that, well, we want to get away from seasonal charges, a summer and a winter rate, and just go to a straight rate across the board just to increase predictability. This doesn't really change revenue or impact on residents. You can see that the average resident there pays about $115 in the winter and $116.23 in the summer, and we're just proposing kind of a middle rate of $116.10 year-round. And again, this isn't about really upping rates, it's just kind of smoothing it out over the year so residents have more predictability and trying to remember, well, why, what month is it, what am I paying this month versus last month. So other cities like Bountiful do this as well, and it's just a good way to smooth it out for residents. So this is a benefit, we think, to residents to smooth it out. Again, the real impact we're seeing is to the commercial side. And so going back to that slide, yeah. So in the past, we kind of dove into this and looked at the rates in other cities that the commercial users are paying. We found that Kaysville's rates are really low for commercial and the high-end users. And we've tried to find out why that is. It's our understanding that we've tried to keep that lower just because we don't have a lot of business and we've tried to attract more business. But in reality, I don't know that this is really moving that needle very much. The bottom line is we don't want the residents to be subsidizing the commercial entities in town. And I think that's in effect what's happening when we're not charging the typical rate for the commercial users. So when you see those big increases like on the top line there of 22% and 27%, those seem really large, but in reality we're just kind of bumping those rates up to where they typically would be in other cities. And so again, most of the brunt of this impact of that overall 5% revenue increase. When we say 5%, a lot of people think, oh, you're raising rates 5%. No, that's a revenue increase. And then we're getting that 5% revenue increase by shifting most of this burden onto the commercial users, which again haven't been paying, in my opinion, or all of our opinions, I think their fair share of the rates. So with that, any questions?
Is this one of the things that you have to declare during truth in taxation? Or
No, this isn't related to truth in taxation.
Rate change?
Just a rate change for the enterprise.
Doesn't,
It'll be in the tentative budget and then in the consolidated fee schedule in June.
I mean, quite frankly, I don't know, does anybody else in here own a commercial building? Do you pay that close attention to what the power bill is? Like,
I do.
would it be smart to maybe go like a little bit higher than what other cities are doing and, a supplement?
I think we can justify this just as, hey,
No,
we
it's
want
not,
to make sure that
you know
we're
what I mean? I just think
being
like a lot of the times
typical.
they just pay their bill, right? Like
Well,
it
they
is
do,
what
but
it
their
is.
tenants pay the difference.
Okay.
So the rates will go up on rentals, leases, because we pass those costs along. So you're just saying pad the commercial and then maybe reduce the residential?
I mean, kind of, but not in like not in a negative way. I'm just trying to say like if what the average of other cities are, there means there has to be a few that are higher.
Yeah, I mean,
Either lower.
downtown Salt Lake would definitely probably have higher rates than we would have here.
Yeah. Okay.
And so what I really wanted to stress again is that 5% increase is a revenue increase, not a rate increase to residents. So the average resident, we looked at the average power usage in the city, and the average resident would see a 31-cent increase per month.
Sorry.
So 31 cents. And again, most of that revenue is coming from other sources, including kind of hitting the higher end users and commercial, bringing them more up to where they should be if they were in any other city. So with that, we want to move on to water now, or any other discussion or questions on power? Let's move on to water.
Can I just say something while Maria's pulling that up? I just wanted to say, after I was talking to Brian yesterday about the power, I think, I do appreciate it's one of the areas where I think a lot of residents see improvement. And I just wanted to kind of, I don't know, congratulate them on that. It's something that I know residents have come to me and been like, oh, I mean, none of them have been like, it's better, because no one does that. But I've gone around and asked them and said, hey, do you feel like it's gotten better? And they do. So I think it's work that is important that we're doing. And I agree, let's try and show it off where we can. Yay.
Thanks, Councilman Ryan. And that is, just I don't, that is something we definitely are working on, trying to tell our story more. You'll see in the budget later on that we want to plan on having a part-time public information officer, which we think will be budget neutral. Explain that later. All right, so water. Again, this model, the top model is what we're proposing. The bottom model is what happens if nothing happens at all. So the blue is our operating costs. The light blue is staff and operating materials. The dark blue line there that you're seeing is water purchases, and then the green is capital projects. And so the total obviously is our total cost, and the orange lines are our revenue. So we're proposing a 20% increase
Revenue.
on revenue. And again, I want to stress 20% increase of revenue, not 20% increase to the average resident. The average resident, going back to that bluff statement, would see an increase of 5.2% or $1.63 per month. So maybe next slide, this kind of breaks down.
Wait, could you go back, Jason?
Oh, sure. Go back to that slide.
So upper left-hand corner, 15%, 28 until 20, that's projecting that will get us to 2028, 2030 timeframe? Is that what it's saying?
Yeah, so we'll need to do a 15% increase next fiscal year until fiscal year 30, and then 10% in 30.
Each year, 1%.
Yeah.
So you keep this graph of
How it looks, correct.
Councilmember Jackson, thanks for pointing that. Looking at that out, yeah, make sure that's clear. Those orange bars are future revenue. So we're projecting, in order to be able to meet the future costs of maintaining the water system, those are the projected revenue increases that we would be looking at. And this is just to try to be transparent in what those cost projections look like. Obviously, as Josh has explained in prior meetings, that there's a great need in being able to maintain our system. As we've all heard many times, we're repairing literally hundreds of water leaks every year. We've got corroded ductile iron pipe throughout the city. We don't know how long a lot of that's going to last. We've got new capacity issues, a new water tank, major cost increase or cost for that coming up in a few years. So this infrastructure is super expensive, as we know. But I think this goes back to the story, thing is we need to be telling this story. Most residents, like myself, we turn the tap and the clean water comes out. We don't stop to think that literally every single day there are people out there doing tests on that water to make sure that it's safe, that it's the right chlorination, that we don't have bacteria, that we're out there repairing lines, and all these different things that are making sure that this continues to be a safe and reliable resource that our residents obviously highly depend on.
Jason?
Yes.
Real quick. When we discussed this in council and the rate increases. I think it would be helpful to have it spelled out a little more clearly what's on the upper left-hand corner and compared to the graph, year by year.
Okay.
And so when we're sitting in council, speaking to the public, we can make a direct correlation between that information and the graph. I think it will help explain that to the public, why we're doing increases year after year, every other year, to keep this graph afloat. Just a little more information and context there, I think would be helpful. And that's the same for all the rates.
Do you have a dollar amount what that 20% increase in water revenue is?
I think you said $1.63.
No, what's the dollar amount? How much is that?
Oh,
Right there.
The
842.
842.
142,000.
So similar to the power, we're still using fund balance. This is more or less just kind of surviving or keeping on top of that curve, not really adding to the fund balance here, just still using some of that fund balance in order to help keep those rates as low as we can.
So basically, the 27 budget is an increase of $1.2 million.
That's correct, 1.2 million. And again, the effect of the average resident would be $1.63 a month with this rate increase. And we're all very familiar with the needs of the water system, I think. But Josh, do you want to go through and kind of talk about some of those projects?
Yeah.
Sorry, Josh, before you go, I see why you're trying to say that it's an increase of 1.2. And I don't know how to explain it better, so maybe Josh can help me. But for fiscal year 26, we have 2.2 million of fund balance budgeted. And then for fiscal year 27, we're only using 380. So the 1.2, I see what you're trying to say, that we're increasing the budget by 1.2, but that's before fund balance use. So last year, I don't know what I'm trying to explain. I just don't think that's a true story.
This is the other thing I'm struggling with it. So how many water meters are there, Josh?
About 9,600.
9,600. And you said it's how much a month?
$1.63.
And our water meters are metered, right? So we
Drinking water.
It generates $187,000.
So I think you're jumping ahead. We're going to explain some of this.
Okay.
This goes back to minimizing the impact on residents and putting more of that cost on commercial, which, like power, we've been undercharging our commercial businesses if you look at what people are paying in other cities. So we want to make sure that we're right sizing or what those rates and not subsidizing or having the residents subsidize businesses is really what I think has been happening in effect. So again, we keep on saying it, but when we talk about that revenue increase of X%, it's a revenue increase. It's not a rate increase. So that's why we're able to keep the rate as $1.63 a month for residents, but still see an overall revenue increase of a lot more. Okay, with that, just Josh, do you want to go through the what's new side and kind of explain some of those projects?
Yeah, so obviously we're on the tail end or the last half of the 200 North project. That's about 2 miles of underground water line and services. This last Monday, we just started the replacement project on Kings Court and Bishops. Down on the west side. That's a system that's not extremely old, but has had probably a dozen or more leaks in a pretty small area within the last few years. The bulk loading station, we purchased equipment 3 years ago to build a location where contractors can come and fill up like a water truck, or if people have like a mobile water tank, instead of renting out fire hydrant meters, we've had to utilize the assistance of the police department in recent years trying to get our water meters back. We've had some issues with contractors and residents not knowing how to properly operate the hydrants when they put a meter on it and causing damage. So building this station would eliminate the majority of hydrant rental or hydrant meter rentals and provide a location where somebody can drive up, enter their info, get the water without having to mess with the hydrant. That's something that we'll regularly get calls from chief. Hey, I've got a guy hooked up to a hydrant, and finding situations where people are taking water where they should be. So, yeah. 300 North Chlorinator right by Mountain Land Supply behind Maverick. We currently have a little mobile trailer. It's like a 6x6 enclosed trailer that houses a bunch of pumps and a bunch of liquid chlorine that we use to maintain chlorine residuals for the northwest side of Kaysville. We are currently working on finishing design and coordinating with the property owner to build a permanent structure there, similar to what you see at the like Burton Lane roundabout, where we can have a more secure site. We can have spill containment on the chlorine. We've got a couple $100,000 worth of equipment that is currently protected by an enclosed trailer, and we just don't feel comfortable with that. We used to have 5. We have replaced 4 of the trailer sites with permanent buildings.
We're done with it, just that.
Yep, it's just this one that's the trailer now. And then the 117,000 that you see there is increases from Weber Basin.
Yes, it's, want to point out too that if we're talking about the ops center, we're trying to spread out those costs in a way that reduce impact as much as possible. You know, we've got some big water things coming up here, obviously. We wanted to, if we do the ops center, we would postpone having the water fund pay towards the ops center bond for a few years, for the first 3 years. Just kind of smoothing out those payments in a way that will help us. All right, I'm going to move on to the next. So like I said, what we're trying to do here is minimize impact to residents. So as you look at those different size lines at the top, 3/4 inch, 1 inch, the 3/4 inch line, that is what residents are using. And so looking at doing an increase there, a fairly minimal increase on the base charge. But then when you look at the bigger lines of 1 inch and higher up to 6 inch, that's where you're seeing more of the commercial users, and that's where we're trying to put more of this cost, this revenue increase onto those commercial rates to right size those rates. What's more typical of what we're seeing in other cities.
Jason?
Uh-huh.
I love doing that, especially because I don't like subsidizing businesses. Do we feel at all like this is going to be like a real hardship on businesses? Because I know we also want to keep businesses.
Right, that's a great question, Councilmember. This is a little bit of an increase. It sounds like a lot because, like, wow, 15%, 25%, but it's been, I would say it this way, is so low that just bringing it up to the right number is if you look at the dollars, I think maybe that tells the other side of the story. Like if you look at the 1 inch line, 15%, that results in a dollar increase of $4.24. So the monthly charge goes up, a little over $4.
So what kind of users are using like a 6 inch line? Right? That's what that means.
So places like the Deseret, Pasta Mill, DATC has a lot of larger meters. It's larger commercial that's going to be using the larger meters from like 2 to 6 inch meters.
Can I add one thing on the 6 inch too?
Yeah.
The 6 inch also has one
has a trailer park. I think Willow.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I was concerned originally looking at this if we were gonna be hurting them a ton. But with all the residents, they're spreading out that base charge and usage amongst all of them. So just to point that out there, with that 6-inch.
Thank you. Yeah, that helps a lot.
And then again, I know I said it again, but the bottom right there, $1.64, that's what you're seeing there on the increase to residents. Total monthly billing.
The biggest increase that you see here is obviously that highest tier. And a lot of that is trying to discourage people from utilizing culinary for irrigation in a year like this where, hey, if the irrigation gets shut off early, the last thing that we want is people going out and connecting their sprinklers to their drinking water and contaminating the drinking water supply. So making it cost prohibitive to do that.
How are people filling their pools? Are they generally using irrigation or?
No, it's drinking water.
Plus P.
Plus what? P? Yeah, that's true. Sure, that's a good
And
It's like while it's filling up.
You can never come over my house.
Yes, I can. He invited me.
Okay.
Any other questions before we move on to the next slide? Okay. So get out of sync. So stormwater, we've had an operating loss in this area, so this is just kind of upping that $2.40. Some of that would go towards the op center bond payment as well, but
Jason, for anyone listening, will you explain stormwater and how it's different than the other water we've talked about?
oh sure, and actually, you know what, Josh probably even better at explaining that, but if you don't mind.
Yeah, so we're required by the state to collect funds that go towards solely just the operations of the stormwater system, which is capturing rainwater runoff, snow melt runoff. We collect and convey that to public water bodies, streams, the Great Salt Lake. So it lives as a separate fee from everything else so that it can be monitored and tracked independently. We have to report in that to the state each year of what we're expending and what we're bringing in. This is one rate that I think last year was the first increase in 8 or 9 years. So as that department's responsibilities has grown, as the city has grown, we were relying on 2014, 2015 rates in a department that grew by one individual and 35+% growth within the city from the previous rate increase. So that's why you see the operating loss.
And this isn't something that residents or the city controls. This is just going through storm drains and it's hiring staff to clean those out?
That's part of it,
Okay.
inspecting and cleaning. We have to do a lot of sampling and screening throughout the year. It's making repairs. It's when the Orchard Ridge flooding happened, that was all the storm drain department that was financing the city response up there, so.
So nothing that anyone can directly control, it's just a fee that the state requires us to pay?
The state doesn't require us to pay the fee. The state requires us to fund and operate a stormwater system.
And this is what it costs to have the staff to maintain and?
Staff, equipment, material.
Okay, so it's outside our control to really control?
Yeah, we have a permit with the state that says, hey, you guys can't have any rainwater or snow melt that leaves any impervious surface and goes to a public water body unless you have a permit from us. And if you get the permit, here's the requirements of what you have to do, how you have to do it. So,
Legalized extortion.
yeah.
Yeah, good point. That's the point we were trying to get to. Okay.
So each city is different, depending on their size and their makeup and things like that. But each city is required to operate a stormwater department and take care of that infrastructure.
And so we're saying that we need an increase because it is, the requirement is increasing in terms of.
No, it would just every year, we're continuing to dig into fund balance to fund the stormwater department. Yep.
Okay.
So Maureen, can you tell me what was the stormwater budget last year? And then, so you're saying from what we budgeted last year,
We
we're
don't know.
gone in the whole $750,000 from what was budgeted. So what was budgeted for stormwater? And then Josh, while she's looking that up, give me an example of something that this year that made us operate $750,000 over budget.
From this year, this is not over budget. This is, we used fund balance to build last year's budget.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
that was
it was
from,
1.8
1.8 million.
million, yeah.
And we ended up spending, how much? To this?
Oh, sorry, 1.8 is fiscal year 26. I'll look up fiscal year 25's budget.
that's how much it costs in 2026 to operate storm drains. That's what you're telling us? Okay.
And when we funded it, you're saying we used fund balance out of what? Out of
Out of
storm drain
storm
reserves?
It has its own enterprise funds.
Okay.
And where does the money come from? It comes from taxes.
From the stormwater fee.
Okay, from the fee that we're charging.
So it's a separate fee, aside from property tax.
And that's added to our utility bill?
What's that?
It's added to our utility bill?
Mhm.
Okay.
And just one other quick question. So obviously the stormwater generates money.
Utilities.
We used fund balance of 750,000. We generate cash reserves every year. Did we generate any more cash reserves that could be counted?
No.
As that? So there was no fund balance. So all the money we brought in, besides the 750,000 we used in reserve. So how did we end up getting reserves in the first place there then?
Previous years.
Yeah, previous years.
Is there something that has increased the budget that much in the last couple of years?
I think inflation since 2020 has been the biggest source.
COVID just killed the world. I don't understand it.
100%.
Anyway, all right, thank you. Just
Yeah.
questions.
All right.
If
Now,
we raise the rates for stormwater, then we won't be 761, was it $71,000 in the hole from the general fund, right? We would have that increase if we raised these rates. Right?
That's right. That's how we're balancing this budget.
That's how we're balancing, is by
right.
moving money over there and increasing this rate.
That's
Okay.
right.
Oh, my, okay.
okay, now we're going to switch from storm sewer to sanitary sewer. So this is, goes down the drain in your house. This central Davis sewer district really. Obviously, the city administers the fee on our utility bill. So most of this is just pass-through costs from Central Davis, the $3 monthly increase. We did notice that we're not covering our own costs to administer that fee for the sewer district, so we are increasing that monthly cost by 25 cents.
But that charge goes to the sewer district, right?
Not our admin fee.
The admin fee is our own internal fee for paying our utility.
But aren't we being paid by the sewer district to do that admin? Why not? We're doing their admin. They should be paying for it. I thought we had a contract that they paid us so much every year for administrative duties that we do.
We have a contract with them to administer the program, but,
I mean,
So
they
to
own
me,
all the
this should be-
infrastructure.
This should go to the district, not the sewer district, not to the Kaysville ratepayers. If there's a cost in administrative fee, that goes to them. Then it's up to them to generate the revenue for that.
I guess it's, yeah, I guess it's the same either way. We could do it
Well, I don't know,
multiple ways.
they don't need to increase theirs to cover it. Maybe they have the reserve in theirs, or the money to cover it, but I just don't, you see what I'm saying?
Right.
We're doing the work for them. They're supposed to be paying us for that. I thought we had a contract with them, that they paid us so much, or we kept so much to cover it.
I mean,
Thought that's how.
Yeah,
I don't know how-
If we're not covering it, then they need to pay us more money. It doesn't mean we need to increase it to our rate. We just need to increase it to the people we're doing the work for.
I don't
Well,
think they
we-
pay us at all because they own the infrastructure, so we don't have to pay to fix the pipes or whatever it is.
we're
We're just collecting it for them.
I understand, it's just an administrative fee, but we're doing
Right.
administrative work for them, and if there's an increase, they should pay us.
I guess we could look at that, but I mean, if we said sewer district, we need 25 cents more per resident to cover this cost, I'd assume they would just make their fee $3.25 rather than $3. We've always done it this way, but we can change it if there's a real feeling that that's a wrong way to do
The
it.
first question is I thought they were paying us.
No,
We need to answer that.
No.
they're not paying
They're not
us.
paying us.
Never
So
have.
we're just charging that admin fee to administer that for them?
Correct.
Okay.
Right. Okay, any other questions on this one? Pass through, so next one, the sanitation or garbage, or sorry, pressure irrigation, I was thinking wrong, sanitation. So similar here, we're collecting an admin fee as we bill for pressure irrigation. We don't own the infrastructure, again, similar to sewer, but we do collect the fee on behalf.
This is just for Davis and Weaver.
Oh, good point, just Davis and Weaver, not Hayes Creek. So that dollar increase, yeah, again, we looked at our costs of billing, and we're not really covering those costs. I don't know that we've had an admin fee increase in,
Years.
I don't know how long time. I will say that we've, I think, become even more efficient on our utility billing as well, so it's not that. We've actually reduced staff there this year. So, but this is just, I think, common sense, making sure we're covering the cost of providing these services. Probably worth noting too that everyone might be knowing that state required that all the pressure irrigation companies meter by 2030. And so once those meters are all installed, billing for pressure irrigation is going to get more complicated, and potentially our end of that's going to get more complicated too. So we're starting to work on that issue. And
Hey, Jason?
yes.
I think Josh
Oh.
has answered to Mike's question.
Oh yes, Mike. Go ahead, Josh. Thanks.
So, the reason that it's operated that way of like, why is the city paying to do all the billing for Davis and Weaver and the sewer district is, the city originally started building and was the original owner and maintainer of sewer and irrigation, and entered agreements with both entities at one point with Central Davis, you guys take over, own and maintain all the infrastructure. Davis and Weaver, you guys own and maintain all the infrastructure. You guys take over the bond that the city picked up. And the flip side was you guys take all that stuff over, and the city agreed in the 70s or 80s for sewer and the 80s or late 80s for irrigation, that with no sunset on the agreement, we will handle the billing for you guys. And in 2023, Dean sat down first with the irrigation company to see if like, hey, when 2030 comes and we start doing the billing we think it makes sense for you guys to just take over. And the irrigation company said, well, we actually wanted to talk to you guys. We'd like you to retake over the irrigation system because we think it makes more sense to do that. And Dean at that point said, never mind, we'll keep doing the billing. You guys keep all the infrastructure.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I thought I had had a conversation with Dean before where he said we do bill them for a certain amount
Yeah.
of administrative fees.
I don't think so.
Obviously wrong.
Thanks for that story again, Josh. I'd forgotten that as well, that we would love to not have to worry about the fees here. And in fact, getting back to pressure irrigation, man, come 2030, when all this gets metered, it's going to get really messy and complicated. And I'm concerned that all of a sudden residents are going to be calling us and how come...
It is difficult for people, like, hey, the city doesn't own or maintain the irrigation system, but well, why does the city charge me on my bill every month for irrigation? And that's really hard to try and explain the differentiation there, but yeah, ideally it would be like, hey, let's keep those things totally separate. But those were the original agreements.
I've actually had a few conversations in the last couple of months with a lot of other city managers about this very thing, and a lot of cities would love to get out of the business of having to bill on behalf of the pressure irrigation companies, but it's just most of them realize that it's a service that's being provided to residents. Most of these companies are just not equipped to do their own billing, and so we do it on their behalf. But anyway, with that, sanitation. So this is our garbage collection. We are working right now on putting out an RFP for our garbage rates. We've been with Robinson for a long time. They've kept our rates very competitive as we look every year at the rates that are being charged in other cities. We're always very competitive, but it makes sense to go out to bid every once in a while, so we're working on that process. In the meantime, for the coming year, Robinson's rates are going up by a total of about $1.62 for the average resident. And of course, that depends on how many cans and stuff like that, but for the average, it's going to be about a $1.62 increase. So, any questions there? Okay, next slide. Then this gets back to that bottom line up front again. So, looking at the total impact of everything, all fee increases and to the average resident on property tax, it's about a $25 increase per month. $14.80 of that would be property tax, and then the balance would be those fee increases that you're seeing on different utilities. Would this be a good time to take a break before we get back into general fund stuff? All right, let's take a 5-minute break.
If anybody's interested, I have a 3D model of the field house that the architects did sitting over on this table. Well, you can look at it. It's on loan from the architects.
Is this a model for ants?
Has to be at least
Three times. It needs to be at least 3 times this.
The best is Will Ferrell's.
Eye drops.
Not now, Todd. You know, it makes me funny. You know, fully not to speak. Anyway.
We watched that the other day. And my daughter hadn't seen it. I'm like, you haven't seen Zoolander? She was laughing so hard. Oh, it's so funny. It's pretty timeless. It's in the computer.
We can make changes and then present modified tentative at the hearing. Yeah.
That's what she
You gotta get a beard on Jason.
I can't do it.
I can't.
2 days, it's not, I can't feel my pillow.
Or
No.
because of the
There's a growing curve, kind of like a learning curve. You just have to get past that growing curve and it's like, oh.
This takes about
I
3
think 3
months
days
to get
has
to
been
the
my
point where
all-time longest I could go. So, maybe I'll try it. Maybe in October. That beard. There we go. Thanks, Chief. I knew it was. Okay, we're back.
I have a new.
So, the end here, we just wanted to circle back to the general fund discussion that we had last, what was it now, a few weeks ago. And so, looking at this slide, the upper box there, the right box on the top says, the fund balance at the end of FY25 was 7.5 million. Our estimated fund balance at the end of FY27 is 3.8 million. So basically, we've used up half of our total fund balance, or we will have used up half of our total fund balance over the course of 2 years. And so that trend is obviously a little concerning, but we've also been fortunate that we've had a little fund balance to draw on when needed. Our only point in this is that, well, it's been a nice rainy day fund for a year. We don't want to continue that indefinitely. So that's one of the reasons why we're proposing to do at least the same amount of truth in taxation that we were supposed to do last year. So that bottom left number, the proposed TNT of $1.795 million, again, that's the exact amount of money that we were supposed to get last year that we voted on, or council voted on, and just didn't get through the state. So that's all we're proposing to do this coming FY27, is to do what we should have gotten last year. So you can almost think of this as a 0% tax increase from last year. Really, that's exactly what it is. A 0% increase of what we were supposed to get last year. Everything else, we're using a creative blend of deferring items, using fund balance again, as we just talked about. And then we also wanted to circle back to the additions to the budget since the last time. So it was commented on at the last meeting that we should try to find a way to fund the police drone. And so that's a $19,000 ad. We also plugged in $29,000 for a part-time police clerk position. It was discussed last time. The PTPIO, that's part-time public information officer. So in the past, we have contracted when needed public information. So Josh has at times used Langdon Group. Various departments have used the Langdon Group for certain projects. And that's a contracted expense. Whenever you contract, you're often paying a lot higher than you would if you were just to hire that person directly. In this case, that's very true. I can't remember off the top of my head what Langdon's rates are.
$176 an hour.
176. So, and we would expect we could pay that same person probably less than 50 an hour if we had them as a part-time. So we would be looking at maybe up to 15 to 20 hours a week maybe that we could put this person on. And we think it would be at worst budget neutral, maybe at best we'd save some money for sure. So even with some additional hours, we think this is a benefit. We've already talked in this meeting about the need to help residents understand what the city's doing, be more transparent, provide those stories of behind, what's going on at the city. And I think this would be a key benefit to that goal. A lot of cities our size have full-time public information officers. A lot of cities hold departments. As I met with cities last week in St. George, I was talking to a number of them that had a full-time public information officer or director, plus a couple of other people that did nothing but video content and other things. So I think we've probably not done a great job of telling our story in Kaysville. And again, I think this would be something that would help us. And again, a budget neutral thing, we believe. So, but still part of the budget, so I wanted to highlight that. The skate park, we are looking to add $100,000 more in park impact fee money. As we kind of looked, we've got a contract coming to the council next week for an architect, or I guess not an architect.
It's a professional design service.
Design service.
But it's a con.
Now the fire,
Design build contractor.
the fire impact fee that's a study, right? No.
That's,
I thought the study was already budgeted for, I guess.
It's very schematic.
This would be for next year to do, design work. So that's fire impact fee. I would stress that impact fee money, it's use it or lose it. It's specifically earmarked for that purpose. So keep that in mind. And then we also, it's been 7 years since we've done an impact fee study. I think Councilmember Blackham and McBride and I attended a session at the conference last week on impact fees, and it was interesting. They actually talked about how you should be doing these impact fee studies. I think in this presenter's words, it was like at least every couple of years. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I do agree 100% that it's been too long since we've done an impact fee study. Since 2019, obviously, there's been a ton of inflation since COVID, and we just need to be taking a look at what we're charging to make sure that we're assessing developers for the true cost of their projects.
And Jason, just to include, when you were briefing us, the one before that, 2019 to 2012. So it's been 7 years.
Yep, good point, Chief.
So that because you have 7 years to spend it? Isn't there a date of spending?
There's
I think it's 6
six.
years, yeah.
Okay, so you have the study and then you have 6 years to collect and spend it, so.
Why does it have to be a study? Can't it just be someone making some phone calls? Why does it have to be an actual study? Is that state requirement?
Because you're gonna change that.
It's
One of those legalized extortion.
State requires it.
You're gonna
you have to
I'm
have,
just
the
saying,
state
why
requires an
can't we hire an intern to do
IFFP, an impact fee facilities plan, and a study, a rate study. Could we do that internally? Perhaps. I don't think we have the resources to do it the right way, to be honest.
We can't just have an intern
No.
make some calls like,
The state really wants to make sure
You
we're not
can't do it
arbitrary
based on
developers.
calls. You have to do it based on what you have in your IFP, your plan, and what the cost projections are. There's a formulas that have to be used. So you can't just say, Layton City's charging this, well, we're gonna charge that. It's based on your plan, and every plan is specific to each city, whether it's water, parks, fire, police.
And it
Okay.
Every
not
city is
only
different.
it not only meets the state requirements, but it provides the material to prove that it's defensible. It's not just an arbitrary number. It shows the background contextual information that was utilized to establish the fee.
okay,
If a
I
developer
appreciate that. I've had people ask me, why do you spend so much money on consultants and studies and engineering I get, but why can't a volunteer do this? Why can't an intern do this? So thank you for that clarification.
And we do that, by the way. I mean, Parker have worked on studies that could have been outsourced that we'll do our own. If it's something that we can do internally, certainly we do. The LRB and another firm does almost all of these studies for the cities in Utah, so this isn't something that, I don't know of any city that has done that internally.
Do these firms have to be on a state contract, or can it just be any? It just seems like we use a lot of the same entities for what we do.
Right.
And is it because they're on a state contract and we have to use those specific vendors?
Sometimes it's their state contract, sometimes it's just that there are only a couple of people in the state that actually can do this work. Like I said, LRB and is it Zion's Public Finance? Yeah. Really, Zion's Public Finance and LRB are the only two that do this kind of work in Utah. And so that's why we tend to use one of those two firms often on different finance.
Okay, I'm just saying, it seems like there's a monopoly on some of this stuff that anyone listening should maybe get involved and start their own business. That's all. If we don't like what we're seeing, we should have some competition. There's my plug for business and economic development. There you go.
Yep, great. No, we're more than happy to, we don't just go with one person all the time. We try to mix it up wherever we can. So we do our checks. And honestly, when I was down at the conference in St. George, I talked to several vendors like, hey, we are obviously open for business. If you guys want to give us a more competitive rate, show us what you can do for us. We don't have any, special, relationships with anybody that we're just looking for the best product for the city at the best rate. Let's see. And also, for that impact fee study, we can also use impact fee money, as it says there, so put that out. And then the last item, this isn't a new item, but I wasn't sure where we left off last time. We had plugged in $141,000 for council health insurance. There are some cities that do provide health insurance to their councils. And I know that's been asked about, so we wanted to circle back on that once and for all. Is that something we want to continue to include or not include? But right now it's still included in the budget. So those are all the, I guess, additions to clarify or highlight.
Jason?
Yes.
I told you this was coming. I do not want the council insurance on there. And I know there are good arguments for both sides. I appreciate the fact that it can help people run who maybe would not be able to run. But I think all of us ran knowing that it was not there. And that doesn't mean you have to let a bad thing continue if it's there. And I also don't want to be like, oh yeah, no, we're all good, but maybe someone doesn't need it. I just feel like right now, especially with where the budget is, it doesn't need to be there. But I don't also want to say, oh, well, we'll do it later, because that's just kicking the can down the road. So if it's something we really feel like is important, I think we should set a deadline for ourselves and put it after the next election so that it benefits anyone who comes in after this. Because I don't love feeling like I'm doing something for myself. I know there are lots of arguments on all sides, but for me, I can't justify it. I mean, seriously, it could pay for like three total line items on there. And it could, I think, solve some of our issues as far as our budget goes. So I'm very passionately against having that on there this year, but open to the possibility of holding ourselves accountable to putting it on after the next election, or maybe the one after that.
Well, and I do want to make the point, thank you, Abby, that this was a staff recommendation, not a council recommendation. So we appreciate you being willing to look out for us.
Well,
in terms of looking at what's competitive in other cities. But I don't think that especially if it's going to bump us up to, is it included in this total?
It's included, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I don't think we need it.
Does the 141, does that assume that every single council member and mayor
and that would be
elects
family
to
coverage,
utilize it?
right?
Yeah, and takes family.
Yeah.
Do you want to take a straw poll right now on we'll have this going to the council next week, but if there's a clear feeling that any of these items should be dealt with, if you don't want some of these items added into the budget, or you don't want council insurance included, I think it'd be helpful to maybe just do it's not a work item right now, we're an action item, but.
And Anne Marie wanted me to clarify that while we have to approve the tentative budget next Thursday, we can still make changes. So we can still present a modified tentative budget at the public hearing in June. So just because we have to approve it next Thursday, you could still say, but remove council health insurance, but.
Just for clarification, I thought the next week, you correct me because you're, okay? I thought all we had to do next council meeting was declare whether we were thinking of truth in taxation or not, but we could do a tentative budget the second council meeting in,
They changed that this last.
so it has to be
So it says in
before,
state code it has to be
before the
approved
10th,
in that
before
first
the 8th,
meeting.
First meeting?
before the
Oh.
8th.
No, the first meeting in May
The first meeting in
specifically.
Before the 8th.
Correct.
And that is a tentative budget, which
Yeah.
is not the final.
Okay.
Right, so we have like five items on the agenda that are all budget related, but we had to split them out individually because the state is requiring us to do it that way.
I thought the new one was you just had to say whether or not you were going to do truth in taxation, but.
It's
Could.
complicated.
It's a bunch of
You didn't
things,
have to,
right?
at that meeting, adopt your tentative budget.
When does the official notice go from the county with our cover letter, which I really will fight to include? When is that mailed?
July.
July what? Just July?
Ooh, I think it's by the 22nd.
July 22nd. Okay, and
But
that is our official notification that we have an intention to do truth and taxation or not, but that does not commit us to an amount. That is a public meeting notice, right?
That's the notice before the August 6th.
A public meeting where we would adopt or not adopt.
Yes.
Okay, I just figure, what's the point of getting people worked up over all of these things, only then to just say, well, okay, so we're not gonna do that, and then we're gonna not, maybe we'll hold the skate park, and then maybe whatever it is.
The skate park's impact fee money, so it's not general fund money.
Okay, so why is it included in this then?
Because we added an additional 100,000 from the previous request. Because as we were going through the RFQ process to select the design builder, we realized that what we originally asked for wasn't enough to kind of get us where we want.
Okay.
So the park impact fee money is restricted to park improvements. It's not general fund, it's 100% park impact fee.
So that is not included in our increase potential?
No.
Correct.
Okay, well then let's make sure that that's clear, because that's confusing.
If it says impact fee on the side of it, it's not included in that increase.
In that increase,
Yeah,
okay.
everything else would be general fund, but things that are denoted as impact fee, yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, just whatever we send out and the county sends out, I think we
Yes.
just need to be as clear as mud in terms of our intention, because once it's out there, it's out there. We've seen it happen before where it's super confusing. The county sends their legal whatever, and then people see taxes and just lose it. And then don't even give us an opportunity to say, wait, but we haven't approved this yet. They just assume it's done, so.
And I'm pretty sure your property tax notice will come with both. It will come if you have no truth in taxation and if you have truth in taxation.
But we also want to send a cover letter
We also
explaining
wanna
why.
send a cover-
Yes, that we would like to see beforehand. I just want to put that on
We will
record.
run that cover letter by council, by you, Mayor, and make sure everyone's comfortable with how we're presenting that.
Jason, to Abby's point too, I don't think this year is the year to have the council health insurance included, and I think we have too many,
I mean, that over
Big
a
items
part-time
on there.
records clerk, I can't justify that.
I guess my only thing would be is if there is some council member who absolutely needs it for something, then talk to them individually and put them out for what they need.
But make it an open meeting so that we know who it is. I think that,
Yeah.
one for one, all for all. We need to know who it
Go
is
with some slanders.
that wants it so that we can have a discussion about it.
so would that be a policy change then moving forward if a council member,
Wanted it?
would like it?
I'm not sure how that would be handled because I think it would have to
Can I
be part of the
Can I
budget.
get half of
It would have to
the
be,
in lieu of?
it'd have to be budgeted for sure, so that's public, you'd have to know who it is and how much to budget it, of course.
Right. It's like, dude.
I guess right
it's like-
now,
it's like
unless
smokers.
people feel like
All his biscuits.
they're comfortable enough just taking a straw poll, we just want to be sure that the budget that we present next Thursday is reflective of the comments that we've heard from the council.
Electronic events.
And again, that's our best guess is that this reflects what the council's interested in. If there's a clear sign that we should take the council insurance out of the budget, not even go to a tentative budget with it. Again, that was something that never voted on by council. I did get some feedback that was something we should look into, but if it's not something that's of interest, we're happy to take that out as well.
Okay.
I think we can take it out this year. We, like Abby said, I like your idea. Going forward, we could look at it and see.
I don't mind taking it out because I don't need it, but there was a good reason for why it was put in there. So I want it somehow in policy or whatever that if a new council member comes in and they need it, they have the option to get it. That doesn't mean you just automatically give 5 people or 6 people health insurance, or then you would just budget, say, okay, council member A needs it, so that's whatever that is, that amount only.
But then
Right.
how do you offset,
Maybe we could
how do you
budget that
offset
for
benefits
election years.
for the others that might say, well, you know, I need a cell phone plan, or I need a data plan
This is
because I'm
big,
off-site a
but-
lot?
But this is specifically insurance.
Well, no, I'm just saying there are situations though where other people will come in and say, well, okay, that person got insurance, well, I have a unique situation where I need something because I'm off-site, or whatever it is.
If it is, great.
Okay.
It's unique and it needs to be there.
Then there's gotta be a pot of money set aside
Feels
for
messy.
those things, is what I'm
What
saying.
about an option, well, just trying to think outside the box. Could you have something set up so that you've got
Discretionary?
the amount that each commissioner or mayor get as their monthly stipend or whatever for being a commissioner? You set that amount to whatever amount it is, and that if a certain commissioner wants to take advantage of the health insurance, that decreases the amount that they get by, not as much as the insurance costs, obviously, but like a certain amount. I think that then creates and you could even increase the amount that the commissioners and the mayors are getting. I'm just saying, like, the idea, the concept, I just, like, I predict you either give it to everybody or you give it to no one, because I predict, like, the old, this isn't fair syndrome happens, like, immediately with someone saying, like, well, that's not, like, you're giving them $900 a month worth of benefits. I'm not taking that. Why don't you give me
Or someone drives a lot. and they have
800
another car,
cash or
They have a
whatever?
lot of gas and, you know, there should be a pool of money set aside.
I guess though you don't do that
Or not.
for employees. I
Right.
guess you don't do that for
If an
employees.
employee turns down the insurance, which some of them do, they don't get anything.
But there's a little bit, I guess the only difference is like, as an employee, like when you're trying to get employers, those are benefits packages that you can take advantage of, benefits, right? Versus in this circumstance, you're an elected official. I guess though you could still categorize it as benefits and just say that's a benefit that's available to you if you want to take advantage of it. Yeah, why not?
Like the gym.
And maybe maybe the cell phone and stuff like that, maybe some of those become benefits that you can take advantage of also, Mayor.
I think you should be on the cell phone plan.
Yeah, cell phone plans are nice. I think we get a stipend for our cell phones. I believe Dean did it that way.
No, that just started a couple months ago.
You're
welcome.
Oh, then, I was getting a stipend this whole time. But he did give it, they did do something like a year ago or 2 years ago. I remember they did something that was gas. Okay,
Yeah, you
so
have a
gas.
vehicle, yeah.
That's what it was the gas for the vehicle.
I'm just saying, whatever the policy is, moving forward, it needs to be available to everyone, to tap into for whatever it is that they specifically might need. Should be a pool of money set aside for special circumstances where
Barely pays
it
for my
is equal
taxes.
to whatever, so it's a fair situation, that's all. Or we don't do it at all, and we say, this is your salary, this is your per diem, and this is your gas stipend, and good luck, move on.
You don't like the
Still say
idea of
wait
just
a couple
offering
years.
it?
I can just imagine like weird things happening there. There's a policy that could be really clear, but to put staff in charge of like deciding when a council member qualifies for that pool of money and when they don't.
Is it okay to not to offer it but not put it in the budget?
Nope.
I mean, assume like you'd have to assume that.
Unless you do a budget amendment.
Yeah, that would just come up as a budget amendment.
Huh?
If someone elected to have health insurance.
Right.
And it made us go over budget, it would show up as a budget amendment.
Okay, but my point is, like, if we were to change it and allow it, is there a way to allow it without increasing, like, the budget for it? Because you know that none of us are gonna do it this year.
Yes.
That's my question. Like,
It's
where
not
it's.
very cards on the table of you, but yes.
Oh, I think it is, because then, like, the year, like, assuming that we get somebody on that wants to take advantage of it, there would be a rule that they can't activate it until the next budget cycle, and you would include it in that budget.
That's basically what I was saying.
Okay, follow?
If there's 6 people and only 2, then put the 2 in for the budget.
That year, but just make a rule on the ordinance or whatever, on the, whatever we do, that like, if you wanna do it, if you wanna elect to do it, you can't do it until the next budget cycle, so then you have a clear understanding.
I don't know the rules of health insurance, I'm not sure that's legal.
You can only do it once a year. There's open enrollment.
There's open
that's what I mean.
enrollment,
Yeah,
and then
so-
there's life
so-
changes, and if you're new hire,
Yeah, so
you have
you'd
30
only be able,
days.
yeah, you'd be counting as a new hire, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what if somebody wants life insurance?
Life
I'm just saying
insurance.
there are benefits that the city offers
Oh.
that council isn't privy to. So if someone says, well, I don't really want medical insurance, but you know what, I'd really like a life insurance policy. How to handle that? Or I'd really like, so I'm just saying, is there a way to put it in, to codify it so that it is a fair system? We don't need to spend all day talking about it, but let's talk about it as we move forward. And if there's enough sentiment that we don't need it included in our tentative budget discussion next council meeting, then let's remove it. Or if we want to be able to have the conversation in the public and say, you know what, this is what we're giving up as a council because we're helping the budget, great.
Yeah.
So we still need to do your straw poll, Jason?
Mayor, we want to do a straw poll on that, just.
Sure, let's do it.
Just so it's clear.
Okay, I'm a no.
If no means taking it off, then I also am a no.
Is that what you meant by no?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Oh, sorry, John, for your.
Oh, that's fine.
Sorry, I kind of missed that. I
Oh,
didn't really hear. So
Whether
what's the
yes or no
question?
to including the council insurance in the tentative budget?
Yeah.
Yes, include it?
Oh, no.
No, not included, okay.
Not right now,
Okay,
not this year.
No.
that's here, okay.
Now, pet insurance.
Now, right, now, pet insurance.
But that's not a bad
But I
idea.
do think that we should include it.
Specifically horses.
Two extremely expensive horses.
Jason, we could include it though with an asterisk that we've had a conversation about. This is offered in other cities, we are saying no to it. Because I do think it tells a story about us really wanting to be basic here.
I think that's exactly right. I
think that's
think
a
it
lovely
came
thing to
up
do.
as a discussion point as, you know, we start looking at other communities in Davis County, trying to understand how everybody's operating and what average means for a lot of things, and that was one of the things that was identified, so.
Yeah, absolutely. We try to look at other cities in Davis County and what's going on, and when that comes to staff council, the same thing. So we did find a number of cities, I think Clearfield, and there were at least a couple others that I found that did offer council insurance. So it's definitely not unusual. So we'll go ahead and take that out though for this year and come back to the council with these other items.
Each paycheck.
Yours
is.
Oh,
Yeah, it's probably like 35
so
to 400.
we're still proposing that we would not dip into fund balance any further, even if we remove the $141,000 from what's proposed there for council insurance. Our recommendation is that we still keep the TNT at the same $1.795 million, the same as last year. So we still a 0% increase from last year, if you will. That's our plan?
My proposal is that the council gets together and has another work session before next Thursday. And
We talked about this.
I would say as soon as Abby would be available on any given night, so that she could be there, because I know she's got school.
I finished final, so I'm available
She's an attorney.
all the time.
She's an
And
attorney.
she's a legal expert
Baby
now.
attorney. Not really.
Yeah, I second that. I'd like to have another session. to
Because,
talk about
and I'll
this.
tell you why, and we've had your presentations, thank you, they've been great, but we've never actually been able to sit as a council now individually and discuss the budget, because this really troubles me. This is what scares me. I look at what our general fund budget was in 2023, and in 2023, compared to 2027, when COVID was over in 2023, so that excuse can't be used anymore in 2023. What really concerns me is this is a 33%, 32% tax increase, but we are still $1.6 million short because we're using fund balance. So then this goes from here to here. What does it do after next year? Because this is only going to cover half of that.
You're right.
And so it becomes very scary to me. So I think we need to as a council, we need to make some decisions, and we need to look at spending, and if there are cuts that need to be made, because the way the state law reads, your budget come June, when you propose your budget, technically, should not be any higher than your revenue, unless you do truth in taxation. But in reality, the law states your budget should be, when you adopt your budget, it should meet your revenue. That's the law, okay? And the only exception to that is if you do truth in taxation. Well, even if we do truth in taxation, we're still not even close to meeting our revenues and our budget. Because we're taking that money and we're making this. If we did this again next year, we'd be zero. Well, it's a recommendation that you have at least how many months? In your Two. What is our operation? Monthly operation. It's not operation. About 1.5, 1 something?
Yeah, it's
You gotta do the numbers. Chief don't like it when I say
Well,
numbers.
the minimum is 4.5, so it's like 2.2.
So we need at least 4.4, at least. So we're gonna drop below that next year.
Correct.
So we need to take a really hard, I don't want to be known as the council that broke the citizens of Kaysville City. I don't. Because we overspend and overspend and overspend.
I agree with what you're saying. I also think that had we done truth in taxation consistently over the last 6-7 years, very incrementally to keep up with inflation and the cost of living, we would not be looking at those numbers right now.
I understand what you're saying, but we have raised taxes. I've done at least 3 times since I've been.
Well, we have, Mike, but we've also done hiring freezes, and we've also said we're not doing anything. Well, that puts us behind every time we have those conversations. COVID is over, but the costs have not come down since COVID.
And all I'm saying is
So-
then we would have, because when you're talking about incrementally, you're talking about doing small truth in taxation.
I'm saying keep up with inflation, because we have not done that.
Whatever, but in the 6 or so years I've done, or we've done 3 at least so far, that means we just would have done 3 more. We've done
But-
6, so we've done a lot of tax increases.
During during that time, we've also reduced, our tax rate is lowered. So yes, there has been an offset. Last year, our tax rate is lower than it is this year. We're the 3rd lowest
Tax
taxing
rate
entity in
doesn't
Utah, in Davis County.
The tax rate number, that certified tax rate number, doesn't really mean anything, because it's based on valuations. The money that you get from the county in property taxes stays exactly the same. If you get $1 million one year, you get $1 million. The valuations all go up on houses, then the tax rate number goes down. But you still get the $1 million.
I know, but my tax rate last year went down. My tax bill went down.
Mike, what you have, what,
Somebody else's went up.
Well,
no, that's not necessarily true, because if you,
Oh, it's not?
well, think if like,
And they
think
lied
if,
to us then.
no, think if 200 homes were built.
Okay.
Okay, so now those 200 homes are gonna be assessed property tax as well. They're
Right.
new to the system. So like you said, if it was the $1 million, you're still taking the $1 million.
The only thing you capture is new growth. Yes. You
No,
can
no,
capture
no,
new
I'm not
growth.
saying, no. Listen to me,
I'm listening.
So if you have the $1 million
Okay,
and 200 new homes get added,
Okay.
you still can only grab the $1 million. Well, now that million's now being distributed amongst the homes that were there before and the 200 homes. So now that's why the rate goes down, because those 200 homes are supplementing that amount. Well, when even if we had like an increase, and Tammy, you're for sure that's why it went, that stayed the last year, because we didn't do anything.
right.
But even the years when we do hold truth in taxation and we go up, you can still go up, and yet those homes captured enough of the percentage that we haven't
I
gone
understand that.
higher than the
But
percentage.
Kaysville City's been looking at about a 1% growth.
Okay, but so the question is, but the dollars are what matter. It's not the percentage, it's the dollars. Because like, if you have X amount of
I
homes,
understand, but if
and especially the homes that are going in, they're $1 million.
If you're, in our case, if you're getting $5.9 million in property taxes,
Right,
and you only have a 1% growth, you're only gonna get $559,000 more dollars with that new growth,
Yeah.
okay?
but the advantage is you have multi-million dollar homes going in. So like those homes, when they divvy up that $1 million, they're gonna pay a higher percentage of that.
They pay whatever the valuation is of their house and the certified tax rate.
Right.
That's the increase.
Right.
you get. That's it.
So I think, I guess my big thing is, to Mike's point, like I feel like we have to ask ourselves a question, and the answer is either there's only two answers in my opinion. The question is, why have we doubled or almost tripled what we've done in the last 6-7 years since we've been on? And I think the answer is either we've been suckers, or previous councils didn't do what they need to be done. Because like we hired a city attorney, and then we hired a second city attorney in our 6 years, right? So should that city attorney have been hired 10, 15 years before we got on council?
Yes.
And the second attorney would happen within our purview, should the chiefs and the different, all the different things been added on back in the day, and we're just taking the hit, or are we just the suckers who've given everything? So I think that we have to answer that question.
And I understand what you're saying, but I hope you understand what the point I'm trying to make here is, we gotta make up $3 million just to balance our budget. That's it, just to balance our budget. And that's using 1.7 of fund balance, which we cannot afford to do. So we gotta figure out if we have a spending problem or what's going on, because we can't just constantly keep asking our neighbors to pay our bills. And that's what we're doing, it seems like, all the time. So that's why I think the council just needs to get together. These department heads don't need to be here. And let's have a discussion and figure out where we're going, where we headed. Because in reality, this 32% tax increase you're doing this year, you'd have to do the exact same one next year just to get to this year's budget. That's it.
And that's if you're not doing the station.
That's if you're doing nothing. That's if you do zero.
The next 3 years will be 30-something.
It would be 60.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, I think this year is an
Way more.
anomaly, or last year was too, because of the field house commitment that we made. That That was rare. We had to do that quick. We had to make a quick decision
It's
on
a
that.
commitment that we made, and now we have to live with it. But it's a good thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
No.
Well, I also think it's important to note that the field house was a fairly small percentage of that increase. A lot of it was
It was like
staff and other
$8 per
things,
house.
right?
Yes, yes.
It was a small percentage of it.
$368,000.
Well,
Yeah.
the
Yes.
field house was paid for a lot of a tax that we didn't have 3 years prior.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
Yes.
When do we have to start paying on the field house? Like, when do they expect their money?
When it's done.
Oh,
Yeah.
for serious?
So
So,
don't ever
what,
put the last brick in
So it'll
it.
be next, it'll be the next.
what?
So really,
Next fiscal year?
so not this year.
So we don't have to budget for it this year?
What we do is, start saving for it.
Why?
That fence gets destroyed.
We don't technically have to, I mean, we've already committed to the school district that we are doing this. We did a head nod, we all agreed to that. We are committed.
No, I know,
I
but why do
think
we have to
though,
save?
but I think that we could, in theory, we could tell them, we will start our payments next year.
The year that you start making it.
We could start our payments next year.
Yeah.
But that would mean that we would have to have the same discussion again next year. And instead of 32%, it would be maybe 15% this year. Because we wouldn't have that bond payment included. Unless the fire station passes.
The field house is so small. I
So-
don't even think it would take it down 15%. Sorry, Mayor, I didn't mean to cut you.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just saying, the reality is we have some good decisions to make, and that's why we
Yeah.
need another meeting. Good, to your point, Mike, we need another
Yeah,
meeting.
and, I mean, there's a lot of these things. I mean, this is not even talking about the increases that we talked about all today, the enterprise funds. This is just the general operating budget.
Yeah.
Okay? We're not even talking about the 6.4 million to the operations center. We're not even talking about the $300 annually right now that people are gonna get in their utilities. We're not even talking about a lot of things that are in addition to that. So, I just think we need to meet and we need to sit down and hash out. and
How's
figure out-
Tuesday night? Look for everybody. We got the fire station meeting on Friday night with the stakeholder meeting. Sorry, geez, say one thing, I think another. Wednesday night is the fire station meeting, so Tuesday would be an opening,
Tuesday, the 5th?
Tuesday the 5th.
And we could have
I hope
tacos.
you understand where I'm coming from, because I'm sitting here looking at this and looking at that, and then I'm saying, now I'm gonna talk about adding an additional,
We have a meeting on Thursday.
give it the numbers right. I thought the bond payment was about 1.4 million a year on a fire station. I'm not right.
I'd say 1.2.
1.2, okay, 1.2. Personnel would be 2.2 million a year. So we're talking an additional 3.5 million.
I could do Tuesday.
Tuesday?
I can do Tuesday.
So
Everybody
what we're
good
talking
Tuesday?
about here, where we're down, we're still talking about an additional $3.5 million per year, in addition to being so far in the hole here. So this is what's really nervingly scaring me, to not be the council that broke the city. Syracuse did something similar to this about 15 years ago, and it cost them dearly. And they had some really serious financial issues for quite a while.
So are you good with Tuesday night
I'm
as well?
good with,
All
I'll
right.
tell you, I'll be here whenever. This is the most important thing that I do for the people of Kaysville.
Just
As
as
do
far
we.
as, let's maybe offline can talk about content, just if there's things you want us to prepare to bring for Tuesday night, we'll work on that.
How early could you do it?
Tuesday, I
I'm
can do
leaving
it
it up to
anytime
you.
after 3.
After 3, 4,
We've got an American
5,
250 thing.
I
Yeah,
probably can't
anytime.
until
3 on.
5. You tell me. 6? I'm good with it. 9.
I could do it at 10 PM,
It's Cinco
whatever
de Mayo.
we need.
Cinco de
They'll
Mayo.
bring tacos.
And it's Tuesday, so.
Bring your own
it's
taco, by the way,
Tuesday.
because we don't have any money for it. So, bring your own dinner.
Oh.
Sack lunch,
we don't have
sack
any-
lunch.
Okay.
Okay.
So what time on the 5th?
6.
6 o'clock on
Does that
Cinco
work
de
for you,
Mayo.
Nate?
Okay.
That's
Okay,
fine with me.
Tuesday at 6. Awesome. Send an invite?
We'll send an invite
Thank you.
Tuesday.
Anyway,
Yeah, we can, I think, Councilman Blackham, you raised a concern that we all share, staff, Mayor and I spent a lot of kind of agonized over this as well, and we've talked about so often not wanting to just drain that fund balance, so I absolutely think we need to be looking at that, looking at future impacts. So we'll be ready to talk about that, and maybe if you want to get together before then, even just to kind of make sure we're going to hit on the things that you want to ask about, we'll try to be prepared for that.
I want to know how Kaysville City's going to pay for all this. I want to know how they're actually going to pay for all this without, these people are, it costs a lot anymore to live. And we're talking about one small part of people's budgets. Their gas bills killing them, their grocery bills are killing them, everything is just, and if there's a way that we can help them, reduce it, get our spending down, figure out how to actually meet the law requirement where our revenues, without raising our revenues every year, meet our budget requirements. And yeah, it might mean that we have to cut back on a few things. It may not mean that we can provide all the services that we have that we may not have provided 10 or 15 years ago, and maybe there was a good reason why we didn't provide them, because there was a cost to them, and we says, we'll just go without. And I get that you want to provide all and the best services to everybody, but not everybody.
I am curious, Mike, just because you've been here a long time, what did we not provide about 6-7 years ago that we do provide now? Because I've been around for a while too, and I can't think of anything. We've cut out so many things. We don't do the New Year's party anymore. We don't do the Christmas tree lighting anymore. There's a lot of things that I see that we've cut. So if you can think of things that we also should cut, I'd love to know, because I don't know what they are.
I think the only thing that and please, this recording, you must acknowledge that I am not saying anything negative. It's employees. We've increased the amount of employees. Employees are the increase, Mike. It's not services.
It's the paying the employees to do the work. It's paying for the material that the employees are using. And last year, the department report that we had for Public Works, paving cost had gone up 400+% since 2019 to 2025. And certainly a massive part of that, of every city, is the employees, is the salaries and wages. It's the people, and it's the equipment that they use and the material that they use.
So
let's not kid ourselves that employees, this is a service organization. We provide services to residents, public safety, water, all these things. It's all people-based. Every city you're going to go to, everyone you're going to find that's obviously true, because it's the same thing. 70-80% of operating funds go to pay the employees that provide those services. So that's you're right, Councilman Adams. I mean, it is employees.
And I hope you understand. That's why I'm so passionate about taking care of the employees that we have and not adding additional ones. Because once you do it, it's that gift you just never get to take away. But when I see something like we saw with the chief, where we've added, like I explained to him, we have police officers, and we've added 2 or 3 or 4 in the last 10 years or whatever, 5. Okay, so a police officer does so much in a day. His workload doesn't, it's what it is every day. But when I saw that poor secretary over there who used to take recordings from 16 officers, now taking recordings from 28 officers, well, that's an obvious need for something. Okay, I get that. But if it means maybe we don't need to start a new program or something and hire more employees, I don't know what that is.
We've also built more parks over the years and other, we've grown as a city, the services we provide. Like I said at the beginning, did I say this? Like if we were a private business, the first thing I do is I say, man, all these parks are costing us money. They're bleeding. So
That's what
let's
people
just,
do.
sell those parks. I mean, I'm kidding, obviously, but, sell those parks, develop those, it saves us money on maintenance. But no, we are providing more, Cole's team is taking care of more acreage than they've ever taken care of, per employee. And they've had requests over many years of adding staff to take care of these additional grounds that we've added. We've added people. All these things are, we talked about the attorney last year and showed how Nick was doing literally twice as many, cases as every other attorney in every other city. And so there's reasons why all these requests are being made. But anyway, last slide.
Just real quick, one question before we get off this topic, because we're off topic, and I feel like we can, before we go back on topic, we can stay off topic. Chief.
Yes.
You guys have had a hard time filling all of the police positions, correct?
We're full now.
Oh, you are full now.
We have our latest hires on training right now.
Oh, okay. Because bummer. My thought was if we were going extended periods of time where we were too short or something like that, and if that tends to happen in the future, I guess my thought is there ever a point in time where you could look at it and say, because I don't ever want to fire anybody at all. I don't want to take employees from, but we have to budget for a full staff. And so my thought was if there's ever a point in time where there isn't an employee and you can think, could I get by without one of these officers, without backfilling it? And I know that's asking a lot.
Forever?
Well, for a couple of years or whatever, as we try and get through this, I guess that's the ask that I would ask of all the directors, department heads, is if there's any positions that you're trying to fill right now that have created that, those are the opportunities to think, is there a way that I could hire somebody part-time to do this, or is there a way that I could give the people that are currently working for me a raise to do some of these obligations, like I talked about that last meeting? If you're saying, hey, I still have to fill this position and it's a full-time position and it's going to cost us 90 or 100 grand, are there a few people that you think could take over those roles and give each of them a $10,000 raise? And that saves us $60,000 in the long run. To keep that in mind before you fill an empty position. I don't want anybody being released for that purpose, but I think that if we're trying to fill them, I would hope that that could be something you could think about. And I think that it would also garner, I think that those employees that got those raises would give them incentive to maybe do more and also increase morale and everything like that. But it may be that you can't do that,
What would be the best way to get that information to council? Because I think as we talk as department heads, I think that is currently happening, and I think there's a disconnect in how do we detail, Jason in the last meeting talked about how we have recently eliminated a current full-time employee in their position. I've got my department report coming up this next week, and maybe that's a good opportunity to talk about hey, here's some of the creative things that we've done to try and plug some of the holes. Or is there a better way to?
I think that's great.
That?
I mean, I think that I would love a report. I don't know if we have one already, and I just don't know where to find it. But and there may be an annual report that shows each department head how many employees they have and what each of them are costing. And maybe that's where, when that report comes out in the next year, you could have a red line of this person left, and rather than replacing that position, we increased so and so and so and so and saved the department
And I would love that.
Is that best done at budget time?
I
Or what?
think it's best done at any time. I don't know. I mean, I'd love the information to come from you and say, you know, Mike, we had 10 guys down in Public Works. We had a guy retire, and instead of hiring and filling his position just because we had it, we took and split that up between the 9 guys that were left, and we're going to save the city.
Or to avoid asking for additional employees, we've done this instead.
Because
It could be a memo, but I think that it should be on a budget paper, like.
Josh has done that multiple times, and I want to give you a call out for that. Your water person, you figured out a way.
I think there's
You've had
better ways
several-
that I can
several
share it though,
positions
like
that you've done that.
highlighting it and making it
Memos
clear.
are good, 2 paragraphs each, if it becomes 2 paragraphs for the.
850.
You know, if it's
Double
TLR,
spaced.
12 font. But I do think that the budget at the end, that's helpful, because I think that, I don't know, maybe I'm totally wrong, but I feel like we budget for full staff every year, right? We have to budget for that. We even budget for staff when there's not currently an employee hired in that position. So those would be the opportunities, I think, where we could say like, oh, hey, so-and-so, you don't have this person, like, is there any way you could do this and this, and we can take that off the budget. So that's, anyway, Jason, return.
I mean,
Hey, just real quick, I can tell you mine. Doing it by myself for the past 8.5 years. I've
That's-
saved this city over $1.5 million.
Give this man a raise. I told you last year, I would rather give you a little bit of a raise for the fact that we can't do.
I know that you know, and we'll have a discussion offline sometime, but
Can I
is
be
that ever a position that you could say, all right, paramedics or captains, I have these additional items that I need done. You all have part-time jobs. Why don't you come do this for me after you're off your shift and take care of that for me?
And I'll pay you a little bit extra
I'll
money.
pay you extra.
I do already.
Do you pay him extra money?
They put it on their time card, you know, so after they're done with the 48 and I give them extra stuff, they just put it on their time card, whether they're working from home or whatever they're doing.
And that's not, that hasn't been acceptable though. Oh.
and as the mayor said, we did it last year with the locator position, didn't fill that. We create a water position.
Yep.
We did it with Bruce Rigby's position when he left. So we needed a meterman.
More of that is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, and definitely that's an ongoing conversation we've had this year. Just to remind you, we eliminated one of the utility billing clerk positions and one of the cash receiving clerk positions. So two positions in Marin's department being eliminated. That's 2 full-time positions this coming year is in the budget. And so anyway, I think we can include that kind of information in presentations and the annual report, narrative, budget narrative, things like that. So it's good stuff. And the last slide is, well, so this is just a quick one. I don't think I dive into this too much, but this is just what we're proposing to take out of fund balance on the left. And so you can see that we try to avoid any ongoing costs when we use fund balance. So you're looking at a lot of capital things like the council chamber AV issues that we were having. That's coming out of fund balance. The Barnes Park bleacher fix is fund balance. So all separate. In the proposed budget, we just want to highlight what's coming out of fund balance versus going into the truth and taxation number. And then the deferred items you can see on the right, those are items that we are not funding that have been requested in the past and continue to.
While you've got this, can I just highlight one, the water conservation and the fire station? We just learned this last week that we can actually, Weber Basin has a lawn exchange program that you'll get $2.50 for every living grass that you remove. We did learn this week that parks aren't applicable, which we knew, but municipal building facilities are. And so we're currently applying for that for this building, fire station, to remove grass. So we are looking at ways to not have these, so
Yeah.
Anyway.
Thanks, Cole.
While I
Perfect.
was out there, I just wanted to point that out, so.
Excellent. And then the almost last slide. Thanks. We added this. Thanks, Mike. Here you go. So that's the breakdown for different home values. And
Right, we'll send a new one out.
Yeah, we'll send out an updated one.
awesome. You guys rock. All right, next slide. And then this is, of course, how we compare. Some people hate this, some people love it in terms of should we compare to other cities or not? I think this at least puts some perspective on where we are. We're the third lowest of 15 cities in Davis County on our tax rate currently. Even if we did the proposed 32% increase, we would still be the 9th of 15 cities in Davis County. And that's assuming nobody else does truth in taxation next year, and likely a number will. So we continue to be at the bottom or close to the bottom of tax rates, which I think is another good barometer to show that we are operating efficiently and do a lot with a little compared to, I think, a lot of cities. Next slide. Final questions? And is that it? Oh, and then back to the mission, where we began. I guess I'll share this. Like, I was having this budget conversation with my wife, not about city budget, heaven forbid, but about our home budget, right? And we're both super like penny pincher, like almost annoyingly will not buy anything. That's why I wear the same blue shirts every day and stuff like that. Probably that's one thing we agree on, my wife and I, like we are super budget conscious. We bought a tiny little home when we started our marriage, and like just to focus on staying out of debt and all that. Yet we still have these like highly, spirited conversations about where our money goes. And I'm sure this is a common theme. I mean, many people have these conversations with their spouses about how they use their money. And we're talking about spouses who spend their whole life together and are probably more alike than anybody else in many regards, share same values and things like that, and talking about the most basic home budget, right? So it just makes me think, putting in perspective, like when we talk about the city's budget, which is infinitely more complicated than a home budget, and you've got 34,000 residents with different opinions, and not understanding all the intricacies and nuances of what goes on in a city budget is so hard. It's hard for us as staff sometimes to fully grasp it. It's such a broad thing because there's so many different departments and things going on and services that we don't fully, understand. But I guess my point there is, I get these conversations are difficult, and it's okay. They should be difficult. It's money we're talking about, and it's complicated. And so, but it all comes back to, are we doing the right things for the city? And are we investing in back to your money or your tree planting question, Marin? So I'll end it with that. Thanks. That's it. Done.
Applause.
Thank you.
That was so good. So good.
I love that.
Well,
Yeah, that makes sense.
And we're open to if these images are like that.
I've had discussions.
Oh, I think